There are stories that sound like fiction until you realize they happened inside real history. One of those stories begins with a structure so large, it defines a skyline. The Eiffel Tower, a monument built to represent engineering triumph, stability, national identity, and permanence. But hidden in its history is a contradiction that doesn't belong in a logical world. Because at one point, it was almost sold, not as a symbol, not as heritage, but as scrap metal, and the idea alone breaks expectation. How do you sell something that represents an entire nation? And more importantly, how does anyone believe it was possible? The story centers around a man who did not operate like a traditional engineer, or politician, or industrial authority. He operated inside uncertainty, inside persuasion, inside systems that depended more on belief than proof. His name enters history attached to one of the strangest financial deceptions ever recorded, because he convinced people that the Eiffel Tower was not permanent, that it had value only in its material weight, and that perception alone was enough to create opportunity. This is where the contradiction sharpens, because nothing about the structure changed, only the story around it did. And somehow, that was enough. What makes this story difficult to process is not the deception itself. It is how easily authority can be imitated. The targets were not naive individuals. They were people operating inside systems of trust, contracts, government-linked expectations, industrial negotiations. Yet the manipulation did not rely on force. It relied on narrative alignment. If you can control what someone believes something is worth, you do not need to physically move it. You only need agreement. And that is where the system begins to fracture, because value is not always physical. Sometimes it is psychological. At the center of this story is a moment where reality and belief collide. A structure that cannot be moved is treated as if it can be dismantled. A monument built for permanence is temporarily viewed as temporary. And in that distortion, a transaction becomes believable. This is not about metal. It is about perception override. A brief period where collective judgment bends, where logic does not disappear, but becomes negotiable. And once that happens, even impossible ideas begin to feel structured. In the end, the Eiffel Tower was never truly sold. But the fact that the attempt became believable is what keeps the story alive, because it exposes something uncomfortable about systems humans build. They are not only physical structures, they are agreements, shared beliefs, collective acceptance of value. And when those agreements are temporarily disrupted, even monuments begin to feel vulnerable. So the real question this story leaves behind is not, could it be sold? But instead, how much of reality depends on agreement rather than permanence? And once you see it that way, even solid things start to feel less solid. The strangest part about history is how often reality behaves like fiction. And the deeper you go, the less stable the world begins to feel. Drop your thoughts and subscribe if you want more true stories that are deeper than entertainment.